Hello, welcome back to City Planner Plays, where we are building the city of Verde Beach. And in the previous episode, we spent some time creating this significant university addition. Today, we're going to refine that. There were a number of comments that I thought were really good about the way that I used the subway assets, and there are some other rail fixes that I wanted to make. So rather than attempt to make those changes as kind of random additions to an episode, I thought we would take care of them now. And I'm going to show you why. So if we take a look at our traffic, we can see that we are having some fairly significant rail issues right here coming from the Lewis Lumber Company. And these rail issues lead to issues with our traffic and backup in general. So these are things that we're going to want to resolve as soon as we can. So we are going to do that today. But before I get to that, I want to give a huge shout out to Fruit and Veg, who gave me a name for the neighborhood right here, Spruce Hills. The name that Fruit and Veg suggested is Mill Hill. It's incredibly obvious since it's next to a mill atop a hill. I agree. Let's do it. We've got our name. So without any further ado, I've been doing a little bit of offline practice, and I think I found a way to make this work. So what we're going to do, we'll go in here, we'll level this off. I'm going to pause this for most of this build. Just bluntly, this is a really difficult thing to do in general. And to be able to do it effectively, I'm going to need to be able to stop this. So what I'm going to do is just create a level pad. And this is where I will kind of carve into the hill. And I'm going to eliminate the subway line. We'll take it back. And now we'll go in here. And I want to immediately create that tunnel. I'm going to turn all the snap twos off. We'll go right down. And I'm going to, for most of the build, I want the elevation step to be as low as it can be. Now, the shorter I make this, the better the elevation's going to be, I believe. No, it doesn't look like it. There we go. That looks like it's a good step. And then I want this to, I'd like this to kind of mirror this, but it's going to be very difficult to completely mirror it. So we're going to have to take some liberties here. There we go. And that is going up from there, but that's kind of to be expected. Same thing here. I want to try something that I'm not sure is going to work, but if it does work, it's going to make this really easy. If it doesn't, not a big deal. It's not going to work. So I was hoping that I could just use my curved road tool here and use that to make the bridge. But if we take a look, we get some lumpies and bumpies that I'm not really excited about. That said, it's really only this one side. I'm wondering if we can fudge that. So keep the rest of the bridge. Now let's go back to square one. And what I'm going to try to do here is, let's see if I can mirror this bridge a little bit. That's not so bad. That's not so bad at all. The one thing that this would change is it's not going to be a navigable outlet here, but that said, it isn't really with this bridge anyway. So maybe it's not a huge concern. You know what? That still dips. I'm not incredibly excited. We're going to give this one more go. Okay, I don't love this, but I don't hate it. So I think that we're moving in a direction that is more positive than before. I'm going to pull this out a bit and tuck this in. Oh, I do not like that. So this is where move it is really handy and where what I'm doing is a little bit challenging. Okay, that was very challenging. So what I basically ended up doing is deleting this a whole bunch of times. I would love to straighten this out and fix this up. That is not something I'm going to be able to do without Move It. I think that this is probably as good as it gets. And rather than letting perfect be the enemy of good, I'm just going to say I'm really happy that I was able to get this at all. And I do think it's a better aesthetic. And ultimately, we're going to be raising this up anyway, because we're no longer going to go right here. So another comment that was made was that it's pretty unreasonable that this is still an underground metro. Oh, and I'm talking about moving forward before I can. You know what? All's well that ends well. So I think we got this in a good spot. I actually almost like the look of this side better than this side. And the way that I facilitated that was actually to create that tunnel afterwards. So that's what I'm going to do over here too. We'll see if that works. Yeah, I think we got it. All right. So I'm going to be happy with this. So hopefully this met the intent of what everyone was thinking. The other comment that I got, I can't leave it. Can't leave it. It's dipping down and it's going to drive me crazy. Okay, and I think the lesson that we've learned here is if you are going to try something like this, get prepared for the time it's going to take to get this right, because this was no simple feat here. And, you know, it's still not perfect, but that's pretty darn good. I like it. So this is one of a couple of things that we're going to do right here. The other thing that we're going to do is upgrade this bridge to a content creator pack bridge. So this would be something that the university takes a great deal of pride in. So having a really special bridge here would matter a lot. So the unfortunate thing about this is that this eliminates our bike lane. So I do want to see how this is going to work. I also kind of want to just try a couple of these bridges to see how they look. I don't know that we have many options. We have the stone bridge, and I kind of like this stone bridge actually as an idea, because it's kind of poking at Karen. You know, we are a unified community. Even if you want to be your own thing, you know, that's not the way regions work. So that's one of the reasons why it can be so frustrating when you see that, you know, a community wants to think of themselves as different. You're all part of the same region, and it doesn't matter where you're from. If you're from Madison or you're from, you know, Berlin, if you don't live in the city proper and you go somewhere else and you meet someone and you're at the airport and they say, "So where are you from?" You know, if you live just outside of Berlin, you're not going to say, "I'm from, you know, this small town." You're going to say, "I'm from Berlin," you know, and people will get that. So people will accept regionality when it suits them, but not other times. And I find that frustrating. So we're going to cut into the hill here. And the reason for this is we're going to move our metro back here. So this will actually be our first above ground metro station. And it's gonna change our routing here, and I think it's gonna be a good and interesting change. So first of all, I'm gonna go through here. I'm gonna remove these stops, and then we'll get rid of this line. And now we're gonna get this thing above ground as soon as we can. Now I'm gonna pull this back around. So what I think we're going to do here is mirror the road. The problem is that means we're close to an intersection, which I don't want. So we're going to pull this back around here because this will be an at-grade crossing now. And that's really going to change the aesthetic here. But this would be significantly cheaper. I want to make sure all of our connections are made. We're good there. So this gives us a constraint in this area too, which is good because cities aren't perfect in that way. There are constraints, that is reality. So we're going to look at our terrain because we want to work over here, and we're going to convert this potentially to an at-grade station 2. That might be a little bit more challenging. So I think because we're looking at an area where there's already some geographic constraints, we will be okay with it dipping down before it gets over here. Okay, so here's where we're going to be, and now we need a nice clear slope to get down. So we are going to create that slope now because we do not want to be trying to fix this down the line. There we go. So that will be a much more reasonable connection. We've saved a lot of tunneling. Little mulligan on a Tuesday. Not a big deal. We need to have those, especially after a Monday. So I think it's a good thing. Funny thing is, I'm recording this on a Saturday morning, so it's your Tuesday, my Saturday. All right, so we've got that going for us. And while we're working on this, first of all, let's add our stops back in. We don't want to inadvertently lose those. Let's make sure we're all connected up. Looks good. I know there were some concerns about me not continuing the old, the pink line all the way through to Karen's neighborhood. The reason I didn't do that is really a response to the game mechanics themselves. So the game doesn't handle that sort of change all that well. And a long route like that will end up having, number one, huge queues of subway vehicles. And number two, just huge queues at stations. So I want to avoid both of those things. And the way that I avoided both of those things was to simply have two routes that force a transfer in the middle. So I understand that is not the ideal solution, but it is the solution that I think is necessary in this particular area. So that's why we did that. Next, it was pointed out that I could have used a metro bus hub here to facilitate easier transfers. And that's a really good idea. I think that is a totally rational thing that would have absolutely happened. That would have been added to the station rather than, something like this, where you get this crazy station right outside a station. You gotta walk a little bit. So I'm gonna swap this out, call a mulligan on these, and Planner Pete recommended that I remove all these bus stops from here first. And I'd never thought to do that. It is really smart, really, really smart. So I appreciate that. We're gonna do that. We're gonna replace this. So we will need to use some eminent domain to make this work. I think we might preserve a little bit of space though. Maybe give ourselves a walking path. Although I don't know it could go anywhere, so maybe not. And we have to fix our metro connection because we're no longer coming in at the right location. And then our routes are pretty messed up at this point. Hopefully some of this resolves itself. Generally, if things are close enough, the game will start to just fix those for you. That said, it was easy enough to pull that one. This one's going to be considerably more... Oh, actually, I think I might have removed that. So maybe it's fixed now. Maybe it's fixed. Let's get our bus routes fixed as well. And I'm just providing a bit of separation in between all these routes. We're getting things moving again. And so far, so good. We're going to zone this out since we needed to use a bit of eminent domain, although I don't think all that much. It wasn't that bad. Now, what is not good is we need some landscaping to spruce this up a bit. Go down the line, get some palm trees. Very good. Yeah, I like that. That feels better to me. And look at all these people using this. It's already hopping. And I'm guessing right now it's pathfinding stuff. But still, I still feel good about it. Here, I don't see anyone yet. Now we have one problem, and that's that there's no way to cross this street. We can get around that. I'd love to be able to add a crosswalk here, but knowing that is not an option, we do have one trick up our sleeves. We'll just neck that down. We'll have a grassy terrace there. It'll remove parking, but it'll allow us to have a crosswalk here, which is what I really care about. I don't want people to have to walk all the way down here just to cross. We have some really obedient citizens here in Verde Beach, and they will walk as far as they have to walk so that they don't have to jaywalk, because apparently that's a problem here. So thank you, Verde Beach citizens, for being so lawful. Now, this is a college campus. We know that wouldn't happen. So this certainly creates for an interesting dynamic, and it makes me realize I didn't control traffic over here, and we need to look at our junction controls. Now, this is a 2-lane road, but it's going to function more as an arterial or a collector, or presumably it would. I don't know that it actually is. So the other thing is, we've disconnected this bike facility. They could bike on the sidewalk, so I think that's what's going to happen. So I could try to throw in some sort of bridge here. I just don't see that as a reasonable solution. That would never happen in a million years. So we're not going to do it. I thought we'd spice it up a little bit over here. We had a weird lumpy, so might as well do something about it. And that is nice to be able to see the trains coming down, the subways coming down through here. I guess it does go up. We're gonna step away from the subway because we have some big things to worry about over here. Things that are going to require a significant amount of eminent domain and relocation of utilities, which is astronomically expensive. So we are going to need to pause again because we're going to do some things. So first of all, let's frame what we're doing. Number one, we've got a cargo line here merging into a passenger line, creating a lot of congestion. If we run this, we can see this happening in real time. You can see that right here, this passenger train has to stop, wait for the cargo, then it goes. Now the cargo has to wait for the passenger. It's fine, but it's not. So we're going to solve this. And what I'm thinking is we could also gain some space back here and make this usable land, get that in the tax roll, and maybe make this a project that makes sense for the city to pursue, because we all know that the rail companies are not interested in this. This is not a project that's going to benefit them in any way at all. So why would they pursue this in a million years? They wouldn't. So we're just going to come along here. We're going to make the bridges as long as we can without breaking spans. Okay, so now we need to get these connections made. So we're going to disconnect this, and that's going to break everything. So on the inside, we're going to have our cargo, and on the outside, we're going to have our passenger. So we've already got some issues because we've got to make this turn, and I know that this is likely going to cause a bit of consternation, but I think I need to do it. They presumably would be traveling at fairly low speeds at this point anyway, because of all of the freight things happening here. And then we're going to drop down here, and now we need to cross over and make our passenger connection. That's not beautiful, but it's going to work. So, and ultimately that's what I'm looking for right now. It's not that bad from above. Beneath, maybe it could use some work, but we're going to roll with it for now. So I need to remember, outside towards the highway is our passenger line. And this is going to be a bit tedious. We're going to follow the highway. And I think the ultimate result of this is going to be, it's a very attractive facility. So we're going to alternate between the straight line tool and the curve tool, using them as masterfully as we can. So we get a little bit tight here, and I want to fix that. I don't want to leave that like this. So you're going to see me do this probably more than a couple of times, where this is a difficult thing to fix if I get it wrong, and I try to go back and fix it later. So I might as well get it right now. All right, so now it's a nice parallel facility. We got these power lines. They fit there. We're going to have to redo these, though. That's not going to work. I'm not overly concerned about them. We'll deal with that when the time comes and when we want to resume. Otherwise, reasonably, I know who I am. I'll probably resume it and forget by the time I'm done with this, because this is such a significant project. So, all right, and for this one, we're going to use our freeform, then clean it up with our curved road tool. So freeform 1, curved road tool, and then the exact same thing over here. Look at that, a nice parallel connection. So the nice thing about this is it's going to allow us to make our sweeping turns into our cargo terminal over here. Why don't we just start getting some of this stuff ready so we don't forget about it. And we'll do the same thing over here, a little freeform action. The exact same thing here, and then we will use our curved road tool to clean it all up. Okay, and that is considerably nicer, in my opinion. But we're entering a kind of a strange spot now. So now we're going to start to move into the segment of this that is passenger dominated. So the passenger needs to flip sides of the road, and we need to get it beyond this. So we've got really a couple of options. I think that we could either leave it over here and go underground. That's not really all that realistic. We could reconstruct these interchanges. I'm not really interested in that. And if we're thinking about this from a point of reality, this at this point is a reconstruction project. So what I think I'm going to do is try to reuse some of these paths. And actually, while I'm thinking about it, why don't we make this a Rails to Trails project? As I'm going through and deleting these, I should be maintaining these for something. Because these corridors would not disappear. And I could still see them because the trains are there. So we're going to throw in a path. Actually, we're going to downgrade this. This kind of looks like the underlayment for the tracks. I'm wondering if that's a connection that's actually made or not. I think it is. We'll find out. This could be an excellent bike connection though too. So maybe that's the route that we'll go. So we're going to need a bridge here. We'll figure that out. At this point, I just want to get it in place. Okay, so I'm trying to completely mirror this, including the height of the bridge, because I do think that this bridge would be reused, not reconstructed. That would be the only way that this project would be feasible. So we're taking some liberties here, but the intent is clear. And now here's where we're going to go rogue a little bit, and we're going to say that there was a county grant that was available to make this entry point a little bit better. Oh, this is going to be a great facility once we're done with everything. We'll even jazz it up with a bit of landscaping. And we're going to use some of that land that we obtained through eminent domain to make one more connection down here. And I think this is an important connection. It's a lumpy connection. So we've got that going for us. We're going to smooth this out just a bit. There we go. Finish our landscaping up. Oh, landscaping. I love it. So we're going to need to think about the bike connections in this area a bit more later. Looks like we have a potential connection here, but it's also a transit corridor. And this is kind of where modal hierarchy becomes a thing. And modal hierarchy being thinking about the primary form of transportation on a particular street. You can have cars, you could have freight, you could have transit, you could have bikes, you could have pedestrians. And depending on what you want to be the preferred mode on a street, that would dictate the street design and, whether vehicles are allowed or not. Lots of different considerations. So we're going to want to think about that a little bit. Okay, we do have this bridge going over the rail now. So this is a very expensive infrastructure project. This is something that would kind of be a dream project that would likely take a number of parties and take a number of years. I would imagine that this wouldn't be something that would be for the faint of heart. This wouldn't be something that happens overnight. This might be something that through a planner's lifetime, they work on this and they never get to see it, which is sad, but it happens. Planners have to be very patient people. And realize that they might not see the fruits of their labor. I think we're just going to leave this alone. So, all right. So now you can bike right into a train, and that's exciting. So we'll leave that. So what I think we're going to do is we're going to pull. I think we're going to pull this down, actually. So I was thinking I might try to flip sides of the highway. But I think we can facilitate what we need to do right here with some bridges. We'll reuse one of these bridges. It's going to be an ugly situation. I don't think anyone's going to be thrilled about it in Sterling Heights, but it's businesses, so maybe they won't be all that in all that significant of opposition. Oh, and I can't even reuse it. Okay, well, that was my game plan, and we're going to take some liberties. Let's say that I reused it. Okay, so this is where we're coming in. But we still have a problem, and that is we need to flip sides of the road, and that's going to be a trick. So we're going to need to give that some thought in just a moment. But before we do that, we're going to put this bike path here. We're going to need to work this around somewhere. And that's going to be an after bridge connection issue. So we need to get this over to here. Ooh, we're going to have a conflict there. Shoot. We might need to take a number of liberties for this to succeed. Okay, this should do the trick for us. So this is now our passenger. So we're going to turn our angles on because we want to maintain our angle. And we're going to drop this down. And I'll stretch that as long as I can. And then here, we're going to keep this up. Just long enough that we can swap sides. There we go. And I would honestly love for this to mirror this movement a bit better. So we're going to raise this up. Ooh, and I don't know that I'm going to be able to do this, mainly because of this support span without doing something to the highway as well. And this is where you can start to see these sorts of projects cascading into something way bigger than we initially envisioned. You know, the people working on these projects aren't completely immune from making mistakes. And it happens. So I am the person making the mistakes right now. But I would like to think that many of these would be discovered during the planning process. It'd be multi-phase, it would take many, many years. And some of these issues are considerably less significant and severe. This, I'm not overly concerned, truthfully. So, all right, this is now, the outside is the cargo, so we're going to need to drop this bridge down. And then we need to make our connection here. So we'll use our curved road tool. Ooh, that gets a bit tight there. So that's not going to work the way I was hoping. That's okay. I think I know the problem that I made. And basically we want to find the start of this curve, and that's what we'll use instead. There we go. Now we have a nice smooth connection. It looks a bit more logical. So now the issue is that we need to curve this back around and drop these both to the ground and still reuse some of these tracks if we can. So it'd be really nice to not need to rebuild more than maybe this. So we're going to start with the outside track because that's really going to be our big limitation here. And we're just going to mirror that. And this is all an exercise in skill with the freeform tool. Or rather, the curved road tool, which is what I guess I've decided to use here. That's probably not the appropriate tool in this particular instance. Yeah, that freeform tool does a much better job. Oh, that's ugly though. That's a quick span drop off, and we don't want that. Okay, and now I think we can use our curved road tool to make our connections to our old tracks. Oh, there we go. So now the inside is the passenger, the outside is the cargo. They do join up here. And I think that we could separate these. I think that we can. Although I don't know that it really matters. We might just try running it as is after we connect up that power line that we disconnected. See, I didn't forget this time. There's a first time for everything. And truthfully, I don't know that this line matters. It's a redundant line, so it matters in that way. But beyond that, I don't think that it does. We're still going to put it in place. We've learned our lesson. So we're not gonna be foolish about this. So we're just going to mirror this here. And that didn't end up straight like I had hoped. We'll try that again. There we go. That didn't turn out exactly as I was hoping, but it's fine. We're gonna let that one go. And then we're gonna run this alongside the train tracks for the span of this. I'm going to turn off everything but angle because I don't think that anything else really matters to me at this point. Let's get this thing running and see what happens. Trains disappear. Let's hope that all of our connections are still being made. There's a passenger train on the outside. Let's follow it. So here it is going along the highway. Another passenger train passing it. That's a local train. We got our freight right here. It's maybe a little lumpier and bumpier than I'd like, but it's pretty darn good. Now maybe this movement didn't need to occur, but we've got so much bridge action and such going on here. I think we're going to live with it. Now I'm really concerned that we're going to see backup near the Space Center, so we're just going to watch this and make sure that we don't have that. But it's nice to see this traffic separated finally. The other thing that I think would go along with this would be a safety project to add fences along here. I don't see a world where you construct this much rail, you spend this kind of money, and you don't make that kind of improvement. That said, you know, I guess crazier things have happened, but there's a lot of rail money out there right now. So you would think that that would be something to sweeten the pot on a grant application, including that kind of, you know, community amenity. I really look at that as a huge thing for the greater community. So here we have this bypass train station, so that should keep things fairly smooth. So I think that we're good. I think that did the trick, and you can see that things are just trucking along, training along. It's working. Out here, there's some backup of, you know, kind of some of our older track. This will likely clear over time. Let's take a look at what our train traffic looks like. It's heavy beyond there. It's heavy right here. Look at this freight corridor. It's busy, but it's not overwhelmed. Now, I do want to make sure okay, there is a train going out here. I just wanted to make sure of that. I wanted to make sure that we weren't in a situation where I have too sharp of angles, although I don't believe that's the case. I didn't believe that's the case. I wanted to make sure there weren't too sharp of angles to be able to make that and have it look appropriate, but not actually function. So the last thing I want to do is figure out this connection here, but before that, I think I'm seeing something, and it is a brief city tour. Okay, so the last thing I want to do is make a couple of connections on our bike network. So we have these streets here. They're concrete. They make a ton of sense here, but it's fine. We want to make our bike connection here. So we're gonna actually take this. We'll downgrade this. Oh, it's not gonna let me. It doesn't like that. Why? That is bizarre. Well, let's see if I do an industry street. Yeah, it doesn't like any of it. We'll need to reconstruct this for a bike lane, which would never happen, but we're there, so we're gonna do it. There we go. So there is some considerable backup here, and we might want to think about ways to resolve this, but that's a topic for another episode, and that's not what we're gonna work on right now. What I do want to do right now is make a couple of, quick connections here with our bike network. Here's one. I am going to use the grid so I don't block road right of way. We'll say that there's an extra wide right of way here, but we're not going to block anything. There we go. There's one connection there. And now I would love to make a connection through here. There isn't one, an easy place to make that connection because of the fence. I could just take it down, but I think we're going to leave it. We're going to stick with the lack of connectivity through here. And I would imagine that in Karen's neighborhood, there are plenty of bike enthusiasts. So they will be thrilled to basically have a bike highway in their neighborhood, connecting them to an industrial district. Well, I guess maybe it's not ideal, but it is something. So we could also probably add another bike path down here. Utility companies are easier to work with than rail companies, and sometimes they will allow you to, they'll surprise you. They'll allow you to make connections that maybe, another entity wouldn't allow. So we're going to meander a bike facility back here and make our connection. And we have saved the fence. So what we might do is clean the fence up while we're here and just put this along this bike corridor. There we go. And we need to round this out with a bit more landscaping, and then we should be in a good spot. So let's just add some back here. Oh, and look at this utilization. I love it. This is exactly what I was hoping. We see bikers already taking advantage of their new facility. We've got trains taking advantage of that. We've got a lot of activity in this area. It is a beautiful site. In fact, I almost wish I would have turned this right here, had a bike street here, but they can still get to the college just fine. So that adds the opportunity that I tried to take away from this neighborhood. but it'll be okay. Everyone deserves the opportunity to advance and better themselves, in my opinion. And there they are, having that opportunity, either to get to a job or get to college. We've got clean rail networks now. We've got a subway system that makes a bit more sense. We've got some over-the-ground rail, and I think that we've made some good progress. I hope that you've enjoyed this. If you did, please hit the like button. If you aren't subscribed, please consider doing so. Hit the notification bell if you want to know when I release new episodes. I will see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.